I experienced a level of heartbreak I had never experienced before. It really felt like my heart was shattered in 1,000 pieces. It's not the other person's fault. It wasn't my fault. We loved each other very much. We just didn't have the tools to make it work. What I realized as my heart was splattered all over the floor and I'm trying to figure out how to pick up these pieces was I never want to give someone this much control over me again.
You are now listening to the Lifelong Learning Defined podcast with your host, Jorge Valenzuela.
This is education coach Jorge Valenzuela. Welcome to the Lifelong Learning Defined podcast, where I provide all educators, whether instructional leaders or teachers, tips on how to be their best both personally and professionally. Now let's get into it. My name is Dr. Jorge Valenzuela, and we're here today with my very good friend, Michelle Moore. Michelle is an educator, spiritual healer, a transformative coach, and someone I've known for a long time, about 7 years. For the audience, I've been paying attention to Michelle over the past 2 years as she's been on a healing and manifestation journey. I've also been on a similar journey, as I'm sure many of you are as well. So much respect to you, Michelle. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on and allowing me to share.
Michelle, as you support others through coaching, spirituality, and wellness, what are the biggest themes you see people struggling with right now?
It's so funny because I'm not sure if everyone is struggling with these things or it's just what I'm attracting in my life right now. Because I'm like, this is too similar. But lately, men and women, it's been a lot of heartbreak and a lot of learning when we give too much and when we need to give more to ourselves.
Gotcha. Do you find it typically that men or women are more heartbroken? Is it pretty much even?
It's even. And when I started this work, I really was leaning towards women because I am a woman and
Uh-huh.
I felt that's who I could help. And I ended up taking on two men who you would have never known. The struggles were the same. The emotions were the same. They may have looked a little differently, but it was still heartbreak.
I'm going to back up all the way back to college. I didn't have a serious relationship until college, and we're talking 1997. And the reason why is because every time I dated in high school, I realized I had crazy self-awareness back then. So every time that I dated in high school, I realized it's not what I needed at the time. I needed to be around my friends, play basketball, and have fun and have that sort of support system, not a relationship. I would date somebody for a week or two, and then I would break up with them. Well, anyway, I got into college. I met someone. I basically had 3 major relationships since 1997 all the way to 2011. And around 2011, I had a breakup that I initially initiated. I changed my mind after a few months, worked it out. And when we got back together, it didn't work out. And I tried everything I could. And when it didn't, it left me heartbroken in a way that I previously had not experienced before. Music didn't sound the same. The only song I could listen to back then was Chris Brown. I could not drink. I could not do anything except just be in this very hurt feeling. But because I was a parent, I knew I had to do something. Anyway, my healing journey, I stunted a lot because I didn't know what to do. I realized that you can't date in that sort of situation.
Yeah.
And anyway, make a long story short, from 2011 all the way to 2019, that's how long it took me to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're
And
still healing, I'm sure. We're always uncovering more and more.
do you find that the men are taking that long or it doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters. I only know the two guys. What I will say is I've noticed I think women are a lot more comfortable being alone and feeling like they need
Mhm.
their space and they need to isolate before they put themselves back out there and be vulnerable. Where I feel like sometimes men find that healing in someone else who is reflecting maybe, the light that they have inside of them instead of their shadows, and they heal that way. Obviously, everybody is different, but it's interesting to me because I do feel like women actually end up, at least the ones I know, being alone for a little bit longer than the men.
Do you find more times than not it's the men's fault that they're going through this? I could be honest. I could be vulnerable. And what I mean by being vulnerable is I can be honest about what I went through because I'm very confident in myself. It was my fault, mostly my fault. But as I dug a little bit deeper and to try to uncover why I made certain decisions, I realized it all stemmed back to childhood and the relationship with my own mom. And so that's something I had to fix first before I can even bring another person into my life in that way.
Yeah, and it's so important. I mean, one, kudos to you for having that self-awareness and going down
Mhm,
that journey. I think so many people would rather numb themselves. Like you said, they just keep dating, knowing they're not ready, and they keep getting the same results, but calling it something different because
mhm,
they don't want to take that accountability. I talk a lot about radical accountability.
mhm.
So you took it upon yourself to say, I don't want this pattern to continue. And I know there's something here that I need to look into. And eventually it took you back to your relationship with your mother. And all of us, we can point to wounds with our mother or our father. Even if we had the most amazing parents in the world, there's something there that is impacting the way that we relate to people present day.
I've never heard of radical accountability. So let's say I'm someone that you're coaching, okay? And I come to you and I've been broken up for a month and I'm hitting the nightclubs every weekend.
Oh no.
I come to you and say, I'm really struggling emotionally. I have a lot of fun on Friday and Saturday, but other than that, I'm a mess. How
Right.
would you help me?
I'm not sure if someone doing that would come to me in the first place, but
If their pain was really that bad Monday through Thursday.
yeah, I think the first thing, and this is what I encourage a lot of people to do, is sit with themselves. So it's
Mm,
easy to go out and distract yourself and fall into that trap, or even maybe trick yourself into thinking that you are loved because maybe you have a big entourage of people and these are my
mhm,
boys and I
uh,
don't need a woman because I have all my friends here and they love me and I support them and they support me. But it's all just numbing and hiding from ourselves. And some people do that by going out. Like that's
mhm,
an easy way. I think women do it a lot with keeping their calendar busy. So I recently talked to a
uh,
girl that I have no time to just sit, like I'm
mm,
always filling in open spots on my calendar. And she does a lot of volunteer work. She does a lot of amazing things in the community, but it's almost a mask, right? It's just another form of numbing, whether you're going to the nightclub or you're going to church to volunteer. It could be because you're avoiding sitting with yourself. And the only way you know that is to sit and ask yourself the why behind it. And that takes radical accountability.
that is so crazy. Every Thursday through Saturday, I would hit the nightclub. It was called Off the Hookah in Virginia. I know they have one in Miami. I heard they did. I would have a section like on one side of the bar with all my friends. And I felt 10 feet tall back then. But I remember being really sad, like immediately after leaving the club, because I was always sober and just being sad during the week, but still having to pull it all together so I can work and be with my kids. And a friend of mine that lived across the street, he said the same thing. You need to sit down in the house. Don't go out anymore. And even a therapist said to me, he said that when there's a storm outside, you don't go outside. You stay in. Miriam is my wife. I had met her around this time and I broke up with her to go sit on my couch. And I
Oh,
sat for 8 months. That's how long it took for me to sit with myself, hold myself accountable. I couldn't even date after that. I focused on my work. I was like Forrest Gump. Like when he got dumped and he went running like 3 years, I did that with every aspect of my work from 2011 all the way to 2019. And it wasn't until 2020 that I realized that I had to sit down and rest. And COVID gave me that opportunity. I got married and now we're going on 5 years
oh,
next month. So
that's amazing.
if you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button and share this episode with your family, friends, and colleagues who are interested in self improvement through lifelong learning. And now for a word from one of our sponsors.
We had the pleasure of listening to George this morning on project-based learning, and he shared his story that his aunt encouraged him to go into education. And she was absolutely right. He is so talented at sharing information in a way that is easy to digest and is inspiring to go back and actually implement and make change.
So my takeaway is that Mr. Valenzuela was very inspiring. He was very motivational and helped me to think about a new way of getting my teachers excited.
When I set out to do a workshop, my key deliverable is energy. And this momentum is used to make connections, inspire, educate, and ultimately transform the audience so that they're compelled to take that same energy back to their schools and communities. And although we have fun, we tackle the hard topics of today, like educational policy, pedagogy for improving curriculum and instruction, and empowering today's students by connecting our work to the needs of the workforce. So please consider lifelong learning defined for your next keynote, workshop, or conference, and overall instructional and educational coaching needs. My name is George, and I hope to connect with you soon.
We would love to have you come and do some work with us and help us be a little more successful and help our students to be more successful.
When you think about your own path, Michelle, what was the pivotal moment that made you realize you had to heal? And you don't have to break down the event itself. Just what were you experiencing emotionally or physically that told you something had to change?
Yeah, I think it's similar to yours where I experienced a level of heartbreak I had never experienced before.
Mhm.
And it really felt like my heart was shattered in 1,000 pieces. And I remember thinking, and it's not the other person's fault. It wasn't my fault. We loved each other very much. We just didn't have the tools to make it work. And what I realized as my heart was splattered all over the floor and I'm trying to figure out how to pick up these pieces was I never want to give someone this much control over me again. I had
That's it.
overgiven.
That's it. That's it. All right.
And that began a very long journey that I'm still on. I don't think we ever stop healing. There's just like levels. It's like a video game. You keep leveling up, but there's always a next level.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So it's interesting you say that. I felt a few months ago, felt like 3, 4 years ago, like I've healed. And I would listen to people, and when I would see them crying as you're trying to speak through something, like friends that we have, I realized they're not healed, and I would give them the steps. A friend of mine told me about anxiety and things like that. Now, as a public speaker, for anyone who's ever had to give a presentation in public, if you look at the research, the thing that scares people the most, even more than dying and meeting God, is public speaking. And I feel as if I've conquered that. I've overcome one of the most hardest things possible. So, anyway, about 2 weeks ago, so content creation is a big deal right now for all entrepreneurs and just people in general. That's how they're vlogging, I should say. I put a video out there and I said some stuff on there that I don't want to say is off brand with what I've been doing all these years, but it was different, meaning that it would now cause me to be separated from my peers. I was being vulnerable in a way that I had never been before.
Yeah.
And the anxiety I felt in my heart was through the roof. And I was like, holy shizzes, damn, now I understand that there's levels to this thing. Even though I got on a very high level where I can control myself emotionally, not that I don't get butterflies, I just learned how to make them fly in the same direction. But when I was being overly vulnerable, and even though I knew that this is good for my brand, it's good for my channel, this is what people need right now, I was scared as hell. And I went the whole day feeling like that, even though I posted it and I got a great reaction. But before that, the whole day, I felt sick in a way that I had never felt before. So I had to call my friend and say, hey, I'm sorry about what I said before.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One, you're reminding me so much of my first time that I delivered a keynote. So I had
Oh my
done
God.
hundreds of presentations, but it was always on a specific tool or not talking about myself, right? Like it was a product, a tool, a training, and I delivered to large groups before, no big deal. And I underestimated my anxiety for
Mm,
delivering the keynote. I was like, okay, I have my deck. This is what I'm going to talk about, whatever, prepared just like I would for anything else. And the closer I got to it, the more I realized, oh, I'm a little nervous. Why am I so nervous? And I was like, oh, it's because I'm talking about me. Like, I'm going to have to be
mm.
vulnerable, and these people are going to hear my story. And I had just never shared my story with a large group before. So it's so interesting because I think that same parallel can be drawn to other areas in our healing journey. Maybe you thought, okay, I sat at my house for 8 months and I feel like I know what I want now. I know what I bring to the table. I know what I need my partner to do for me, and I'm ready. Oh, and then you start dating and different things take on different forms and it just comes out in different ways. And all of a sudden you're uncovering, it's like different shadows, different parts of you that you just hadn't shown a light to before. And they might look a little differently, but it's going to challenge us. And I don't think we're ever, that's why I say I don't think we're ever healed. We're always just uncovering more and more.
Wow, that is really great self-awareness. I'm not sure about you, but it's made me not judge people. Even people that don't know that they have to heal or they act like they're all that. I've learned to observe, not take anything personal that they're saying or doing, but realizing they too are really going through something. And if they're not careful, it'll all implode one day.
Yeah. I think it's so important to have compassion for people wherever they are in their journey. And everyone's at a different point. And it's interesting to me, like you said, we're in a world of content creation, and it's so easy to judge what people put out there. And especially, I look at a lot of food that people post, and
Mhm.
they're like, oh, here's a really healthy meal. And then the comments are all like, that's not healthy because it has this, or this person says it is healthy because of that. And it's like, wherever you are in your journey, like, that may be healthier than what the average person is currently eating. And if you're on a different level and that's not like up to your standard, great, but don't blast somebody else.
What's interesting is I'm one of those people. I'm not sure if you are. Do you go look at your Facebook memories every day or every so often?
So I have Time Hop. I just talked about it this morning. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I have Time Hop, and it shows me all my photos and posts and stuff.
So it's so interesting. I didn't understand what the platforms were designed for. I had no idea. So
Nobody did. We were figuring it out.
there's a reason why only maybe 1% of the people on there are actually running very successful businesses. Everybody else is using it to socialize, to post, to argue, to vent, and things like that. I thought I was very strategic until recently. I realized I had no strategy. There's a reason why my posts weren't really going anywhere. People in education knew me if they liked me, if we interacted online, but folks that don't know me, it just wasn't being discovered. As I started looking into my memories, I started to realize that anything I posted about food, anything I posted about politics, things that change, or maybe I've evolved and I don't think the same way, or maybe I feel the same way, but I wouldn't speak that same way today. I realized that they didn't age well on my timeline. And so I started taking those things down and focusing more on family, breakthroughs in business, good advice, positive things. That's what I have found.
That's great.
Before you began healing with intention, Michelle, what did life feel like for you day to day? What were the patterns or emotions that made your body or spirit send that signal?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think that was one of the biggest things that I gained awareness in first, was all the ways my body was trying to tell me something was wrong and I just wasn't listening. And the biggest thing is I had a ridiculously high level of anxiety and
I would have never
stress.
thought that.
Right.
I would have never
Yeah.
thought, yeah, because you seem so positive and strong. Yeah.
Right. It was like positive that I could control everything and make it
Mhm.
perfect. And if I just do everything perfectly, then it'll all work out. I really believe that, it was, and that came from a lot of trauma in my own life previously. But what I realized was, one, not everybody has this level of anxiety. 2, it's not normal to have stomach aches all the time. I can't remember the last time I had a stomach ache, and I used to get them
Wow.
all the time. It's not normal to get headaches all the time. There was a point where I was taking like Tylenol or ibuprofen pretty consistently because I used to get
Just to
massive
function.
headaches. Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to say something real quick. When I told you that a couple of weeks ago I had anxiety, I had a stomach ache and it lasted all day basically. I unlocked another level of confidence though as a result, but I told myself I can't imagine living like this.
Yeah.
And those poor people that have to
And
deal with that.
And
Yeah.
there's people that it becomes so normalized that you forget there's any other way. Or for me, my whole life, I had grown up with anxiety. So I didn't know it wasn't normal to have stomach aches
Mm,
all the time. I didn't know it wasn't normal to get headaches or take ridiculous amounts of aspirin.
wow, that's
Um,
crazy.
and it was really eye-opening. I actually worked with an embodiment coach. I love her so much. She did so much for me. I was always in my masculine. Like I said, I could always, if I could control everything, just go do and never stop and think and feel. And she really helped me with the feeling part. And we did one of my favorite exercises that I've ever done on this journey. And it was actually a tantra exercise where your mind speaks to your body, and then you give the chance for your body to speak back to your mind, and you're basically just
Mm,
talking out loud for a set amount of time. And it feels weird at first. I'm like, I don't know what, like, what is my mind supposed to say to my body? But eventually when my body got comfortable and talked back, it was like really angry with me for pushing it so hard all the time, and
wow.
basically told me all the ways that it tried to warn me and all the signals it was giving me. And I was just completely ignoring it because my mind was like, this is what we're going to do no matter what. I love Goggins. So it's, this is what we're doing. This is the plan. Like, we're not punking out. And as I healed, as I learned that balance, it was like, okay, like when I listen to my body, like the stomach aches go away and the headaches are gone. And I just feel so calm. Even when it's not, I'm like Zen all day. There's definitely like moments that are very intense, and it's really moments. It's okay, this is really intense and this is what needs my attention right now. We use our breath, or we figure out a plan, or we do what we need to do to get through it. But
Mhm.
before, that intensity would last days, and now I'm just able to move through it a lot faster and a lot quicker and go back to like my regular regulated self.
Wow. For anyone watching, anyone listening, if you're struggling with anxiety, stress, stomach aches, headaches, from listening to Michelle's journey, I hope you realize that transcendence and overcoming and healing is possible. But there are times that you will experience that same emotion, those same feelings, but we can very consciously let it pass through us. It is not us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think being an observer of my thoughts definitely taught me a lot with meditating. I think the last time I was on, I talked about my meditation challenge that I did. And I
Mhm.
think the other thing too is realizing I don't need to manage everyone else's feelings. A
Mm.
lot of my anxiety came from that perfectionism and realizing, or thinking I had to manage everybody else's feelings.
Since we last talked, I've changed a lot too. I could give a flying 747 what other people think as long as I'm not doing anything to harm them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have learned that naysayers and haters, there's nothing you can do to win them over. There's
No.
nothing you can do. So it doesn't matter. Just let
Yeah.
them think what they want to think. Let them, like Mel Robbins says, let them. And that has helped me a lot because as long as I'm happy with myself, my family and my inner circle understands me, then I think that I'm just fine. You don't have to worry about anyone outside of that. I also manifest, and I do want to talk about manifestation. I have some affirmations and manifestations that I read almost every day. One of them is I lead every interaction with respect. I lead every interaction with integrity. So if I don't get that back, I never have to second guess myself about what I did or what I didn't do. And if it happens from the same person more than once, then I know I've invited this to myself.
Now that's radical accountability, not blaming the person and really saying, I allowed this to happen.
I allowed this to happen. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button and share this episode with your family, friends, and colleagues who are interested in self-improvement through lifelong learning. And now for a word from one of our sponsors. We have a lot of teachers that have come from non-traditional pathways, especially in the past few years. Interactions, expectations is really the first step. All of my teachers, raise your right hand and please repeat after me. I promise that I will speak positivity into my students. All of my administrators, all my directors, all my principals, all my coordinators, raise your hands, please, your right hand, and repeat after me. I promise that I will speak positivity into my faculty and staff. Thank you. Michelle, you've been on this powerful journey of healing and manifestation. In your view, which comes first, healing or manifestation? Or do they unfold at the same time?
That's easy answer. That is definitely healing. And I say that because a lot of people struggle with manifestation because they don't think they are worthy. If you don't think you deserve the life that you say you want, it will never show up for you.
Before you break that down for us, because you are our guest, let me share a definition I've been using. Manifestation is bringing into fruition something that's in your thoughts, your heart, or your gut.
Okay.
But my approach is more intentional. I set goals, meaning I'm not speaking it into existence. I'm not using a vision board. I set goals. I study people who've done what I want to accomplish. I fail forward. I learn. And eventually I reach the outcome. That's how I manifest. How does your process compare? And what am I missing?
That's a very you way. That's how I would picture you doing it. And I think part of that is probably your degree, right? So it's okay. I'm going to research. I'm going to find the best use case. I think
But I'm asking you, I'm saying what I've experienced and what I've learned, but I'm also understanding, just like anxiety. I thought I never had to deal with it again because I conquered anxiety at a high level as a public speaker.
Yeah.
But now when I'm doing something out of my comfort zone, I realize I'm not immune to it. So that's why I'm asking.
Yeah. That's life. I say it's always going to put on a different mask and show up. And it's really a blessing. It's an opportunity to practice gratitude because it's the universe giving you a chance to prove that you are who you say you are. So if you think you've conquered anxiety, okay, I'm going to throw this at you. Let's see if you really conquered it. And it might throw you off at first, but you figured it out. You're like, okay, wait, I've been here before. I know how to work through this, and I'm going to walk with integrity, and I'm going to be who I say I be.
And that's why you never hear me talking reckless. If you see me talking, I'm talking from a framework, research, lived experience. But you never see me talking like I'm gangster like that, like I'm built like that. Because I have seen people that look really strong. They have all the credentials, but they like to tell people and show people what they can supposedly do, and they get tested.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't pass the test.
Life will humble you. Humility is important. I feel like I didn't answer your question about manifestation. So vision boards alone aren't going to work, right? Like we can make vision boards all day long. So I love that you said it's not enough to make a vision board. Like you actually have to set goals to get there. I think everything you said is great. I also think sometimes we need to do some learning. So you mentioned who else has been successful in this. For me, one of the things that I've been wanting to manifest or have been focused on is really creating a life partnership with someone. So one of the parts of my journey that has been really healing is surrounding myself with people who are in successful relationships that I admire, It doesn't mean they're perfect. No one's in a perfect relationship, but I have some couples that I can point to now and some really amazing men and women, and especially men. I think I needed to see really healthy men in relationships and how they show up for their partner.
Mhm.
And it's okay. Like, this exists. I'm not asking for too much. And if this is what I want in a partner, how am I going to show up? And what am I going to bring to the table? So it is very similar to your like setting goals and doing research. But I think it's also believing that I am worthy of that type of
Uh,
love.
when did you start believing that? I can tell you when I started believing in myself, not from pep talks and not from talking to myself. I believe imposter syndrome that I went through was just a lack of confidence, but a lack of confidence from having a lack of at bats.
Mm.
Once I got more opportunities, not right away, but eventually from failing forward and then succeeding at a high level, then I believed in myself. And now I feel like there's nothing I can't achieve.
There isn't. You can do
Yeah.
anything you want to set
Yeah.
your mind to. If I always tell people, you can do anything you want to do, which is the overwhelming part, right? The hard part is figuring out what you want to do, because you can literally do anything. And the people who don't succeed are the ones who quit too early or they're not consistent. If you can stay tenacious and you can stay consistent, you will get to whatever your goal is.
If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button and share this episode with your family, friends, and colleagues who are interested in self improvement through lifelong learning. If you notice, I've been asking you questions, but I've been answering first. And the reason why is because I'm asking you to be vulnerable, and it's not fair for you to be vulnerable and then I'm not being vulnerable. I've done a lot of soul searching and have been thinking about what I want to do with my life. I turned 50 in March. So that means that I'm working 15 more years. And I think after achieving a certain level of success as an entrepreneur, as a coach, as a speaker, as a writer, I feel as if this would be a good legacy. If this is it, then I think I would have failed as a father, as a husband, as a son, as a brother, as a friend. I judge my success at the end of all of this if my children eulogize me in a way that when people hear them and see them, they would know that my life was worth living.
Yeah. There's a great book. It's one of my favorite books called Halftime: Moving from Success to Significance. And it has some really great journal prompts to help figure out what that legacy is going to look like for you. And especially at our age, it's okay. You checked off all the boxes. You did all the big achievements that you really were excited to do, like maybe getting your doctorate.
Mhm.
And now what? And like you said, it's a good life. It's not a bad life. It's a good life. We make it great.
Honestly, someone asked me one day after seeing me after 10 years. My ex-wife's sister came by the house. She had went to Howard, so she lived in DC after college for a long time. And she came by the house and she knew me. She's 27 now, and she knew me when she was 9 years old. And she said, "I'm really proud of you, George. Are you proud of yourself?" And I thought about it because I hate when someone tells me that they're proud of me if they don't know me. Because I'm like, you're not my mom and you know nothing about me. Do you tell every single speaker or coach that you're proud of them? You don't do that. So why are you telling me? Could it be, you know what? No, I'll skip that. But I said to her, I'm not proud of myself because I just put my mind to something like, I'm not a motivated person. I'm just like everybody else. I don't want to go to the gym every day. I don't want to eat healthy every day. For every keynote, I think it's 30 hours of prep that goes into that. Every workshop, writing, like I write a lot. But I understood 10 years ago that I had to start making content. I didn't know what it would be used for. Now I understand that it's for my videos and stuff like that. But back then, I was just writing what we were doing in schools. I said, I'm not proud of any of that because it really wasn't glorious. I was just consistent. That's it. I'm not smarter than anyone. I'm not motivated that way. I'm very consistent. But I'm proud that if you speak to my son and my daughter, or my wife now, or you see my pets, you know that they're loved and you know that they haven't been neglected. That's what I am proud of. They are really good people. They've always done right, where I had to learn. So, how do you get credit for that?
That's awesome. And I'll call you out though. I took my consistency for granted. I'm consistent. Like you said, we just
Oh, like,
do it.
right, yeah.
But consistency is a superpower. And I always took it for granted until I
Mm,
started getting into this space. And like you said, you hear what people are struggling with. And it's okay if you know this is the problem, like just stop doing it, right? Don't do this or do that and commit to it. And you develop a lot of empathy for people when you realize that not everybody
mm,
can be consistent at the same level as you.
yeah.
Not naturally. I'm not saying they can't, but not as natural.
So I do think it's a choice. When we're talking about young people, and what I mean by young people is anybody like before 35 or 40, before 40. We don't always have control over our emotions. We don't always have that emotional intelligence or that self awareness or the frameworks or the tools to get ourselves where we need to be emotionally. And your emotions impact everything. I think once we realize that we have to work on that, with today's internet, YouTube, social media, it's really on you.
Mhm.
And I know me, a friend of mine said to me a long time ago, he was like, Yo, G, you think that God cares about your feelings? I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, there's 10 commandments, right? God wrote them. Do you think he cares how you feel about this? I was like, probably not. He's exactly. He cares about obedience. Either you obey or you don't. But his feelings aren't hurt either way. It's for your benefit. Adam and Eve had a parameter. Hey, you can be happy. Just don't eat by the tree. Follow the rule. One rule. And they broke the rule, I don't think on purpose, but they broke the rule because they wanted freedom. And the consequence was now you have to go to earth and work and be here and do this. That doesn't mean he doesn't love you, right? It just means that he's not really concerned with how you're feeling about his rules. Anyway, once I realized that, I started to care less about my feelings. When I'm watching the news, when I'm watching social media, especially in the last 5 years, I have learned not to be overly optimistic or pessimistic, meaning it's not all doom and gloom. Yes, it's horrible. People are really going through it, and I don't have the answer for all of it, but I know after every hardship, there comes some ease. I know that much. I've seen that. But I also am not overly optimistic that we're all going to kumbaya. I have learned how to be a realist and look at life and situations for what they are and try not to let how I feel stop me from doing the things that I have to do, being consistent. And I'm focused more on the outcome. How am I going to feel when my outcome is completed? Instead of how am I feeling along the way when it doesn't feel right?
That's so powerful. And I think what some people are missing to get there, and something that I've really solidified on my journey, are my values. And once you really identify your values, it's easy to be
Mm,
consistent because everything is aligned or it's not aligned. This is moving me
mm.
closer to what I say I want, or it's pushing me further away. And it becomes very black and white. Either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. And it's almost like the decision fatigue gets taken away. And like you said, it doesn't matter if I feel like doing it or not. It's I'm going to do it because this is aligned with what I said I wanted.
If you're watching this on YouTube or listening on Spotify or iTunes, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the like button and share this episode with your family, friends, and colleagues who are interested in self improvement through lifelong learning. Michelle, one thing I've seen you lead with consistently is being part of a community. You guys exercise together, travel together, support each other. How did that part of your work begin? And what does healing in a community look like to you?
Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes is Bell Hooks. She says, "We hurt in community, but we also heal in community." It started because I realized, to your point, you can sit in your house for 8 months and read all the books and talk to Chat GPT all day long, meet with your therapist, whatever you want to do, whatever string you're pulling on. But eventually you got to leave the house. You got to go see, okay, let me test the waters, dip my toe in and see if I'm really healed like I say I am. And what I found was there's so many great people that are really different than me, that are going through the same things as me. And regardless of how much I think I can heal on my own, I need to say
Mm,
things out loud to others. I need to hear from others. I need to really just share my energy in that space with others. And it very
wow.
naturally developed.
Wow. So I can't say I have found that. I have tried to do that. It didn't work for me. I think I'm not going to say men, but the men I've met don't hold space like that. But I do have one friend and we hold space like that. And what I love about him is that he has given me a whole new mindset on how to give someone honest feedback. And he says to me all the time, you have to be honest with people because at the point you are in your life, you have game to give. You've accomplished certain things. So now it's your responsibility to share this information. He said to me, you have to be honest with people so they can know what their blind spots are. If it's something that you know that they don't want to hear, but you have a relationship with them, you just say this: I love you, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And then at that moment, they can stop you if they want. But either way, you're attempting to do the right thing.
I love that.
And yeah, I don't know anyone else that I can talk to in that way. Not even my wife or my kids, because what I'm going through, they've never been through.
Yeah. If any men watching this, you're right. Men don't have enough of these spaces. And it's so important that men have spaces where they can take their armor down and they
Mhm.
can talk to other men and they can have those honest conversations because you're right. Your wife may be your ride or die, your partner, your soulmate, like everything in the world. She does not know what it is like to be the protector, the provider in the family, regardless. And I'm not talking about just financially. There's
Oh,
a
emotional,
masculine
right?
energy
Yeah.
that comes with that. And men, there's plenty of research that shows it. Men do not have enough men to go to and have these deep conversations with. And those spaces do exist. I've seen them. I've met some amazing men that are really doing the work, but I feel like they have to work 10 times harder to find that space.
I feel like I manifested it, and so did he,
Yes.
because we talked about it with our spouse, and then we actively try to pursue male friends, and we reconnected at a party after 10 years. But now every Saturday or every other Saturday, we both get together, bring some cigars. He drinks, I don't drink. We talk about these things. He's someone that I can say what I'm going through or how I'm feeling. And he knows a lot. All of my friends are smarter than me. So I don't have a lot of friends. I've got three main friends, but they're all smarter than me. And that's by design, always by design. You never want to be the smartest person in your peer group. And they tell me I'm smart, but I'm like, whatever. So anyway, and we have these conversations, but I've had to accept if I really don't care about my feelings when I'm trying to accomplish something, I need to not care about my feelings when someone is telling me the truth about myself.
That's great.
And that's a tough one.
Yeah.
All right, Michelle, it's almost an hour into this. I'm so glad that this show is a conversation. We had talked on the phone, and I told you I don't want to do a typical education podcast where someone is asking an educator questions and the poor person has to feel like they have to prove themselves. That's not a conversation. That's a show and tell. That is not what we should do to people. You get the last word.
For anyone listening to this, as we were talking and conversing, and I really appreciated it not being question answer style and just feeling more natural. But there's no right or wrong on the healing journey. Whatever is calling to you is where you should go. So if you're being called to seek out more meaningful friendships and safe spaces where you can open up with someone and be more vulnerable, go that way. If you're being called to go to a therapist, go that way. Maybe you're being called to love yourself more through movement or nutrition, go down that rabbit hole and see where it takes you, because the only wrong thing that we can do is take no action.
And if you know someone that is going through it and you can't really help them because you're not a therapist or you don't know what all the answers are, just love them.
Yeah.
Love heals a lot too. All right, Michelle, let's throw this up to God. How can people contact you so you can speak at their event or you can be their coach?
I will share my email with you so you can put it in the notes, and Instagram is probably the easiest way to get a quick response out of me. My Instagram handle is at michelle.mnms.
That's it for this episode. Until next time, this is the Lifelong Learning Defined podcast.
Whether you're a teacher or administrator, you lead by walking alongside your students and your staff. You teach them what to do, you model for them. Let's say you're in a situation where you don't know what to do, and you bring in a coach or a resource, you learn alongside them. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. Now, the second thing is this. Give your people feedback, not pushback. Whoever you push back on, whether physically or verbally, they're going to do it right back immediately. And if they're intimidated by our position, our status, they're going to do it behind our backs and ruin our programs. My guy. I want to leave you on this note. Trajectories can be changed. When I was in 10th grade, here's a snapshot of who I was in 10th grade. There's a rapper named Rakim. I'm not sure if you guys know about Rakim, but he used to say, it's not where you're from, it's where you at. And I played that on my headphones at 16 years old every day until I believed it. I'm showing you this because I'm seeing versions of this throughout American schools. This is your reality of what you have to face. If I can do it, any kid can do it, but they have to work hard. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Lifelong Learning Defined podcast with Jorge Valenzuela.